Awesome. How are you? Please sit down. Alrighty, we are all set.
Yes, hi, my name is George Keach. And you can hear me?
You can. I'm not sure why you're not going to television, but okay.
Okay.
I can see him.
Okay. Perfect. Alrighty. You have the floor then, my friend.
My name's George Keach. I'm a veterinarian currently practicing out of 1088 Berlin Turnpike. This is a practice that has been in existence since 2012. I purchased the practice in 2018. So I have been there a little more than 4 years. At this point, the practice has reached a growth where the current size of the practice won't sustain any further growth. And so I'm before you, gentlemen, to request that a move to, I believe it's 196 Berlin Turnpike. So it'll be a move from about 1,800 square feet to a little bit larger than, or a little bit smaller than 3,000 square feet, with the intention of adding a second veterinarian. I'm a single veterinary practice with 5 employees, and I would like the practice to grow to 2 veterinarians with a support staff of anywhere from 9 to 10. So it would be basically taking the practice from 6 employees to 12. Other considerations for the move there at this time is that my current location is adjacent to the Dunkin' Donuts. And so we have some safety issues with people driving very rapidly to get into the drive-through. And so we've had some complaints from my clients of near accidents, especially during the winter months when it's still dark or when it gets dark early. So.
Perfect. Guys, just trying to find something. We have you on the computer itself. Jackie, I don't know if you'd like to say anything or not.
I just want to say hello and introduce myself. I'm Jackie Greer with William Ravis, and I'm excited to have Dr. Keach move from his current location to 196. Doc has been my vet, or my cat's veterinarian, for many years, and he's fabulous. And I think the location is going to be great.
Or City's new building. Okay.
Does anyone there have any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
Does that fall under medical?
It does not. It actually, 2 things would need to happen. One, a text amendment would need to be added for veterinary use in the PSB zone, which they have applied for. If that is approved, then they would go in under a special permit. So actually it'd be a two-step process. Good thing is too, it is allowed in a number of other zones. Would be staying in town, and I actually have, bear with me for a second, 1, 2, 3 emails of support from Blue and Mo's, Berkshire Hathaway, and the Fresh Monkey. That they
Excellent.
the veterinarian coming into the plaza. They think it would be great to bring in a new customer base. They also would be great with the apartments in the back to have the vet right there.
Right now, you got a Dunkin' Donuts where you are now.
That is correct.
But this has restaurants and stuff in it too. Do you think that got that same issue there? With the traffic?
There's not a drive-through coming directly in front of our door. It's the way they come into the parking lot is they come directly by our front door in order to get into the queue for the Dunkin' Donuts. I believe Fresh Monkey has a drive-through, but it's to the side, so
Yeah,
there would not be direct traffic passing by there. And I'll tell you, probably the clientele that go to Fresh Monkey are different than to Dunkin' Donuts. I'm sorry.
I have to say, I have been in the
You're more
parking
time
lot.
than the coffee drinker.
I have sat in
Coffee
the parking
drinkers
lot
that
for
were
a
in a
while.
rush to get to work.
Yeah. I did want to say that I have sat in the parking lot and it's very quiet there.
Okay.
And I also wanted to mention, what's that?
It was just a thought because of the traffic and people in and out at restaurants that I didn't even think about the drive-through window. And I know how it's set up there, how it goes right in front of all of the stores at Dunkin' Donuts.
Right, right. And Dr. Keach does currently have the same text amendment at his current location.
Okay.
I reviewed all of the locations in Berlin and it looks like none of them are in the approved veterinary zone or a zone approved for veterinary use. They all have special language, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think it was something they had looked at initially. Again, that's the kind of thing that happens with zoning. Sometimes you need to tweak it to make it work because
Mhm.
pieces weren't initially put together in the 30s, 40s, or 50s when zoning books were put together.
Right.
Chris, is this on the agenda? P&Z
It is a pending application with PNC, yes.
for when? You know?
December 15th.
So is this again?
PS-B, so shopping center B.
Make the motion that we support the text amendment to allow veterinarian clinics in the ESP zone.
So Zarian, is there a second somewhere?
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Campbell seconds that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, abstain, motion passes.
Well, thank you, Dr. Keach, and thank you, Ms. Greer. I will
Thank you.
I will have letters put together as soon as I am able to get to the commission. I will plan on being at the commission, the hearings in person as well. So I wanted to say thank you both, and we will be in touch.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you
Enjoy
for
the
your
rest of the
time.
evening. Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. The next one is Steel Center.
They don't mind.
Mr. Tony, if you want to come on up,
The landlord wants. Why not? Would you like?
just come on over here and then. Actually, what's the best way to go? The commission, actually, why don't you stand like next to me? That way, if they want, they can see on the screen. Actually,
How about back here?
how about back there? Perfect. Take a seat.
You sit down.
This looks so good. Hey guys, I'm Tony Valenti with Newport Realty Group. I think I met most of you in the past. We're developing the Steel Center development on Farmington Avenue. And you can see the first building is up, 9 Steel, 16 apartments and a commercial space on the first floor. We're excited to say we've just about, I think we've got 1,200 square feet left to get leased on that first floor. So what we've learned along the way, let me take one step backwards. You know, we do have all of our full approvals done for 9 Steels for Steel Boulevard, Steel Center. And we had to make a couple of tweaks along the way. And one of those tweaks has been, we've been a little bit surprised with the interest in food tenants, like we're seeing in our other buildings and other markets, but we've seen that same interest at Steel Center. So the first building, 9 Steel, which is going to be Hop House, driven by, it's under construction. I think drywall actually started to be installed today. We requested an outdoor cooler for that building. We have a rendering here of what planning and zoning reviewed and approved for us. That's gonna be on the west side or the left side of the building, looking at the building from Farmington Avenue. So you see, and we did the best we could for an outdoor cooler. And the reason our restaurant tenants want those, Chris, I think that space is like 200 square feet. It's maybe that big, it isn't that big of an area. What it does, it takes the cooler outside the space, allows our tenants to have more customer space, which means they can generate some more income. It takes out of their kitchen space, which means they could have, more of an efficient kitchen. If we knew this before, or as we're going through approval, we would have asked for this before. So we had a really tough time, very tenacious time going through planning and zoning to get this approved, but we did get it approved. And I think with Chris's support, Mayor Mark came in and supported it, some of the council members supported it. Well, going forward, 29 Steel Boulevard, and I apologize, I've not brought an overall site plan for this development. I could maybe email one over to you, Chris, from Dropbox.
30 seconds, that should be.
Thank you. Give an overall site plan.
What part of the building is this on?
This has already been approved for 9 Steel. It's on the left side or the west side of the building.
So the tracks are, that's
Yeah, with the tracks. Exactly.
with less visibility in that area anyway.
There's
It's actually your back of your building.
it's the back, but there is some customer parking. It backs up to Joel's building.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of rows of parking. Here we go. You know what? Can I walk up there, Chris, and point to that?
So let's.
No, I understand where it
clarify
is.
that. It's between Joel's and the building, not in the back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll get to the
Just
next one.
to make sure we understand.
So this is 9 Steel where we completed that. We've got the apartments leased and then we're building out the commercial space. So it's not called out on the approved site plan, but that cooler is about right. Chris.
No, I just needed to share it to the public. I think.
Oh.
There we go.
It's about right here, and then Joel's building, it's not, actually, Joel's building is right here. It's not a colored building, but it's right in here. So we worked really hard and we had a really politic to get that approved, which really surprised Mark and I and our Newport team, how much work it took to get that done. Now we're gonna be back at it again. We have 29 Steel Boulevard. That's about a 15 to 1600 square foot building. And it's gonna be a restaurant. We've got a lease out with tenants here. And in this building, the same request is happening. They're looking for an outdoor cooler. Granted, it's 1,500 square feet. About 40% of that will be back of the house kitchen, and the front of it will be customer seating, and we also have a small patio. What we're gonna ask here, and we don't have a site plan pulled together yet, you should see in the next couple of days, is we're gonna ask for an outdoor cooler for the rear of this building. You won't see it from Steel Boulevard. You won't see it from Farmington Avenue. It's gonna be between the building and the dumpster enclosure. So what we're asking, we don't think we're gonna have a restaurant here. I think we kind of tapped out our parking. This will be our third building going up. And of course, this is the large apartment building in the rear of the development. So this is teed up. Architectural plans are being pulled together, leases being negotiated, and we have to go back to planning and zoning for approvals for an outdoor cooler. So we think it's logical. We think it makes sense. We see a lot of outdoor coolers today. We've seen them in the past for most restaurant uses because of the reason I mentioned earlier. It takes them out of the building, allows some more patron space, and allows for some more kitchen space. So we're here tonight. Thank you for Chris to tee this up for us. We're looking for the commission's support. When we do go to planning and zoning, that economic development commission is approving our request. So that's what we would appreciate your consideration on tonight. And usually we'll have a full set of plans. We just don't have those ready for it. We'll be happy to share those with the commission when we're ready. We can email them to you, Chris, and you can distribute them to the commission if you'd like.
So basically the same style and fit the building.
It's gonna be smaller though. It's gonna be, it's a smaller building, but we'll put a cover on it. This one, because it's only a 1-story building, it doesn't make sense to put a roof on this one. It did for 9 Steel because it's a 3-story building. So what you do is surround around the cooler. It will something like right you see here. And we'll do it in the same color, vinyl or something that makes sense to match that building.
So, in what sense, how did you get the first one? And what was the wording? Just a site plan revision or?
I'm not sure it was even a site plan modification, Chris. maybe an accessory use. But we worked just as hard getting an outdoor cooler approved as we did for the overall site.
Okay, what I'm getting at is probably it's just should have been an amendment to the regulation that would allow outside coolers if they are screened. And then it could be allowed anywhere. With certain stipulations that they would approved by the commission.
Right?
And then anybody could do it, because if that was just stuck out somewhere, it could land up being ugly somewhere.
No doubt.
But if it was green, and at a certain height and the whole thing is covered, then any restaurant could use it. So I guess the wording of your first approval, I don't know how they worded it, that it doesn't affect or allow you to do more of them.
Yeah, and I remember it was a site plan modification, it wasn't any kind of text amendment, it was that serious of an item. I think it may have just been an amendment to our site. Yeah,
Go ahead.
we tried to keep it simple, but we had to bring in Mayor Mark and commissioners and Chris to get that approved. We just didn't feel that it warranted that much of our efforts. Well, you know from us, we do whatever he asks us to do, we're gonna do it, but we really got hammered.
And how many square feet are these little additions?
The one for Hop House is a large cooler. I believe it's an 8x8 cooler or 10x10 cooler. The one for 29 Steel, the smaller building that I pointed to, I think it's gonna be like an 8x8 or 6x6 cooler. It's a small restaurant. They don't need a big cooler. And it's for,
They have to have an entrance from the restaurant, I'm assuming, to get in.
that's correct, yeah.
We have probably illuminated for nighttime.
Yeah, and they like to put cameras on those too, just for employee safety.
Yeah,
In the back, our buildings, I just drove by there tonight, sure our lights were on, because of the time change. And the building's pretty well illuminated, but still, they'd like to do cameras, and we're fine with that.
Any other questions from commissioners? I have a couple.
No, I mean,
Pretty straightforward, huh?
So, Mr. Valenti, if you had known this before you, or this.
We haven't poured footage in 29 yet.
Well, I understand,
Yeah.
that, but on this one, 9.
Yeah.
If you had known this before, would you change the design of the building?
We wouldn't change the design of the building, we would have called out the outdoor cooler. And we would have avoided the expense to have to do saw cut of some of the sidewalk and kind of work around the cooler. So we would have caught that earlier. We just were surprised we had this much restaurant interest and this demand for these outdoor coolers.
So if you do that in advance, the building would look the same as it does now. in approval.
Yeah,
You wouldn't have done it, you wouldn't have done the outdoor cooler different.
no, it really came out good. We would have done exact same.
Exactly.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, that's question number 1. Number 2 is. You folks, maybe, that issues did come to us originally on 9, right, to see if that non-development supports, right, support you. But now you envision maybe similar issues with P and Z, so you will look for our support.
yes, I'd be interested.
Right, no, yeah.
What's that?
If I have a restaurant interested.
Well, yeah, it's a done deal. The lease is done.
Right, the second building, you already got
Yeah,
something
we
lined up.
just wanted to show you that for just for example purposes. Yeah,
So you didn't come to us originally because you didn't think you'd have so much trouble with P and Z and it wouldn't be such a hassle.
that's correct.
And now you envision possibly the same thing going on with the next building, so you look for our support.
Yes.
I'm just trying to understand one thing. You wouldn't modify the building, second building, based on what you know, because you've had so much more restaurant interest, you do the same way with the outdoor pool.
Yeah, if we do then we're getting approvals, this the interest we would have had, the demand for the outdoor coolers. Not a doubt in our mind, that site plan would have had a little box behind it for an outdoor.
Or outdoor pool, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just trying to understand the whole process.
So we're trying to just garner the support from any commission that we need to hopefully be able to get through the planning and zoning process. With an approval for an outdoor cooler for the 29th Steel Bowl.
I'm done with my question.
You sound like you're trying to put. It's next to nothing, that's a beauty.
And it's not easy to present this, but if there's no outdoor cooler, we don't have a tenant for 29 Steel. You know, that's a difficult thing to present, but it is what it is.
I got another question. The one that you had approved, did that go into the side yard? Where it should have been. Your building is in an existing site right now. Did it go into the side yard where it was supposed to be?
Like a setback.
Yeah.
No impact on setback, no impact on parking.
In any of this.
We didn't think so either.
You know,
I think it was a sidewalk, may have been the bigger issue last conversation, like that was one of the biggest.
We just went around the walk. Right, I think we just
Yeah,
kind of
it's
squared off. the walk.
jogged the walkway around.
yeah, I'm good with this much better.
Okay, good. What's the address on that particular?
29 Steel.
29 Steel. Okay, so, all right, so Mr. Valenti is here this evening to seek out our support for an outdoor cooler at 29 Steel Boulevard, Steel Center?
Steel Boulevard.
Steel Boulevard, so we'd be looking, commissioner, some desires, motion on that.
Or Mr. Valenti, at 29 Steel Boulevard for outdoor lift addition to the site plan.
Second,
Have a comment on it. All this, screen. All the screen.
It's like straight, right?
it's certainly been modified, Mr. Bosch was modified, his motion, and screened, a second someone? I'll second. Mr. Campanelli, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Thank you.
We appreciate your support. And one last comment, the support from this commission from day one for our project, this is a big project for our company, has been second to none. And specifically the amount of interest and the excitement and the continued excitement interest that Chris drives for our development is also second to none. So we greatly appreciate and recognize everything you've done for our development. And the other buildings that we purchased and tenanted up in the town. That's what we're.
I have to say, my class act.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean, it's clean during.
My son is our commercial construction foreman, so it's not right. You gotta make sure you tell me. But thank you for saying that. We try hard. We love the town. I think hopefully the town loves us. Chris, thank you again for everything you do for us. Thanks, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Already, I'll leave for the evening.
Yep, of course. I am going to actually skip ahead to 398 Chamberlain Highway. I believe Lindsay is online here. So I thought I could have Lindsay speak briefly. Lindsay, if you look at the second page in your packet, or third page actually as it is. Look at it quickly here. She has an interest in the former garden center, so I asked her just to come in quickly and kind of talk briefly about what she is looking to do. So if you could just introduce yourself, Lindsay, that would be great.
Okay, hi, my name is Lindsay. Are you able to hear me? Okay.
We are. It's not the greatest, but yes.
Okay, all right, sorry. So,
It's the computer.
okay. So yeah, I'm looking to possibly bring a day spa and wellness center into 398 Chamberlain Highway. I currently have two other locations, one in Southington and one in Plainville, and we were just looking to extend into the Kensington, Berlin area. We've been open for about 16 years. We have a really good reputation and a strong following as far as clients and staff, so that's good. Services that we're looking to provide would be massage therapy, skincare, manicures, pedicures, and possibly, possibly some yoga or soak tanks. So pretty much anything related to wellness services. We would also be looking to sell products associated with wellness. So that's anything from lotions to SPF, robes, sandals, some jewelry, things like that. As far as staff goes, there would be about 15 people on staff throughout the day. Typically not at one time, but we are generally open from 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then weekends 9 to 4. And so, yeah, that's what we're kind of thinking of putting over at that location.
Sorry, let me let's turn this off so it's not really loud. Thank you very much, Lindsay. So 398 Chamberlain Highway was the former garden center.
Yep.
That there, its last use was a garden center. It is currently in a residential zone. So likely a text amendment would need to be approved for the use. At this point, I believe you were working with Tim Sullivan, is that correct?
Our realtor is Jared Stevens. I'm not sure who the other realtor is.
Tim Sullivan is a local attorney. I just talked to him briefly, but
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. So Jared, yes. Yep.
Tim Sullivan, so likely would need to be a text amendment. I think the concern at this point would be opening up all homes to having their own salon. I think that's it. That was the only issue I can think of at this point. I think the location itself definitely has been one that has had quite a history, as everyone knows. There was a big to do on it, so I don't know if there's any particular questions or thoughts at this point on what Lindsay would like to do. Again, this is the first time she's in front of us, but I wanted to at least kind of let you know what she's looking to do, and the location is a very good reputation in Plainville, Southington. So the good news is that she's a very good operator.
Okay, well, thank you, Lindsay. We'll open it up to the commissioners. Any questions you may have or any comments regarding what Lindsay is considering?
Basically, you say you have a total of 15 employees, but how many are there at one time?
So with the square footage of the space based on my other locations, which are about the same square footage, I would say there would probably be about 8 staff members at the max at any given time. Sometimes it's as little as 1 or 2, depending on the time and day. Like mornings are typically a little quieter. Evenings and weekends tend to be the busiest, but as far as staff goes, it'd be about 8 people.
And how many clients could you hold max at one time?
So typically it's a 1-to-1 ratio plus a front desk. So if I have 7 therapists on, there would be 7 clients and then 1 front desk or 1 manager managing the facility. So I guess the answer would be 7 therapists, 7 clients.
Thank you.
And that, of course, is at peak hours at the busiest time of the day, which isn't consistent for all hours open.
Will you be incorporating the greenhouses that are still left there somehow into your operation?
So I am, well, I'm not sure. The one that's attached to the building, I was kind of thinking in my mind would be really cool to repair it and kind of create a, I don't know, like not necessarily a sauna, but maybe like more of an outdoor, not outdoor, but more natural experience for people where we can maybe keep some plants growing and things like that. Maybe more of like a sitting area versus a treatment room. But I would like to try to incorporate it somehow if I can. But it's not a game changer for me or a deal breaker if we don't get to keep them there.
Other questions?
Just, well, you have plans for the other part of that property. So everything you're doing is gonna be inside, there's nothing outside.
As of right now, we're typically, or just looking at the building itself and keeping things fairly indoors. At our Southington location, we do have like a very small sitting garden. It's really just like a bench that's outside the building and no one ever sits on it. So maybe we would just do something like that in the back, but it wouldn't be like services or gatherings or parties or anything like that in the back. And then also we would have to consider parking. Because I'm not sure how many spaces the current driveway would be able to accommodate. So we might have to use some of that land for additional parking as well.
How big is that?
I'm looking it up right this second. 2,000 square feet, and then it says it has an upper story that's finished, but I don't even necessarily know if that's usable, but somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000. So probably service would be 1 per 250, so like so it's 3,000, that'd be 12. So it's somewhere between like 8 and 16 spots is probably the game, depending upon how much space they say. Probably would likely be that a lot over on the side here, only because the front definitely is very, very tight. I can definitely put down.
Any other questions, folks? Okay, I do have a couple of questions, if I might, Lindsay.
Sure.
Are you the current owner of the property? Are you buying the property, or are you going to be a tenant?
So so when I say we, I mean my husband. I'm an official owner of the business, but obviously he's included in some decisions. But long story short, we would hope to purchase the property. That would be our main goal, would be to purchase the property and be owner.
And when you say, you had mentioned that you're going to possibly be selling product, and you went through the list a little quickly, so I didn't write it all down. Can you
Okay.
tell me what products? I know I heard jewelry, I know I heard SPF, but what products would you be selling there? I'm basically trying to understand the retail side of it. You're selling product.
Okay, sure. So when we do our skincare, part of the business model is to send the client home with products. So lotion, sunscreen, toners, cleansers, eye creams. So that's typically what we sell. We do sell, like some of our staff make their own jewelry. So that we sell that. We sell candles. We sell like little self massagers. Sometimes we sell like little plants or like an herbal supplement. But I can tell you that the bulk of my business is not retail. It is definitely more serviced. We don't typically have people coming to the other two locations just to buy items, not like you would just go into Target and buy something to buy it. They're typically there for the experience, and then they'll might grab a little retail as like a take-home gift, or something like that.
You had indicated massages, skincare, manicures, pedicures, I guess. Would we call that a nail salon a little bit? Would that be considered part nail salon?
So technically, so in the state of Connecticut, you have to have licensure for massage therapy. You have to have it for aesthetics or skincare, and you have to have it for nails. Again, the nail portion of the business is very minimal. The bulk of the business that we do is massage therapy. And I wouldn't even necessarily be again, if we weren't able to do nails, it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. I don't see myself as a nail salon. It's more of a massage therapy wellness center. Nails are kind of like we only have one nail tech. It's very minimal. I don't even know that I would staff a nail tech at this location. But I listed it as an option because it's what my current model does look like, but I may eliminate it in our third location.
Lindsay, thank you very much. I have, Chris, if you could help us out on the commission here, because I want to make sure I understand this.
Yes.
The current zone at the garden center is residential. And you sort of clarified that if a text amendment were approved by planning and zoning for this particular site, then other residential sites, of which there are many, would be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, well, basically, the way
I just want to
Yeah.
explain it to us so we can
Sure.
understand
So
it.
it's an R21 zone. So let's say you just said, plain and simple, a salon is allowed in the R21. Anybody in the house in an R21, which is a lot of the town, would be able to do this. Now, what's been done in other places is a more restrictive text amendment. Good example would be is we had the gentleman looking to open the brewery down on New Park. The text amendment was you can have a brewery in a PI zone on a major state highway. That is almost something that I could see almost like here, which is you can do it, but only if this and this are in place. So a general text amendment, yes, that would be something that I think the commission would be very much against. If it was a more limited in scope, I think that could make sense. Again, you'd have to look at what other properties could make sense. But if it fronts on a major highway, it makes a lot more sense within an R21 to be commercial than the middle of a neighborhood.
And I understand your explanation there, but there's a lot of properties on a major highway.
Yes.
On a state highway, because, Farmington Avenue is a state highway.
Yes, of course.
Champlain Highway, Percival Avenue, and there's plenty of R21s there, so we could conceivably have salons and massage parlors in those places. So I just want to make sure it stands. So I'm not, this is in my opinion, it's a very tricky one. And I'm not sure as a commission, I know enough myself to take a position, as a commission, to take a position on this. And I don't know what the rest of the folks think, but.
Could I ask Lindsay one more question? Sure. Lindsay, could I ask you one more question, please?
Sure.
I noticed you wanted to keep the variance of the nursery as an option. What do you foresee in the future with that?
Just I'm not really sure. I personally just have we fell in love with the property, and so we have always also kind of wanted to have a nursery, or I don't want to say a farm because it would never be animals. So I guess more of a nursery. I guess I just didn't want to take that off the table as the way that it's currently standing. If we're still interested in purchasing the property and using it as that, if the spa isn't an option.
Yeah, I think that kind of what I'm thinking at this point, Lindsay, is this may be something that the commission discusses a little bit, and then potentially may have you either come back or I'll get in touch with you and discuss it a little further.
Okay.
Because I think it is challenging. I mean, one of the things I'm thinking about in the back of my head, which is if you look at the self-storage, which was done, self-storage was done minimum acreage and minimum frontage. And not to say that's the answer, but that may be a way, again, if we're looking to limit the number, as you said, you don't want, you really have to limit. Yeah, I think it would be the way it is done at this point, but I think what you've given us actually has been really, really good, Lindsay. I think we need to kick it around a little bit. I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I need to do too, which they're probably going to ask me when we get to the piece further on, which is how many other properties in town would fit this or something similar? So they would have an idea, but no, I appreciate it. This is good. Any other questions anybody has? I don't know.
Is there a chance of a zone change
Yeah, no,
No, you
it's,
can't
it's,
do
it's,
that?
it's one property by itself in the middle of
Okay,
residential. I don't think that's likely.
okay.
It's always a question. So it does. All right. Well, thank you, Lindsay. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And let me know if you have any other questions.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
Okay, Chris, where are we now?
Alrighty, we are at 1162 Berlin Turnpike. So guys, I don't know if you want to just pull 3 chairs to the end there and you can sit at the end. So 1162 Berlin Turnpike is the location just south of Dunkin' Donuts that had the repair garage on it, or still has a repair garage on it. Okay. So Berlin Turnpike southbound, the old garage building there,
Big signs.
the big signs, yeah, the one that. No, right closer to daylight. Yeah, right across from D&L's office. So it's basically, so what it is it basically includes, and if you give me a second, I can pull it up here, I can show you exactly what it is here. So, next door to. This one is very interesting. Give me a second. Just share the screen for. So this one's interesting for the fact that 1162 is one of 3 properties in total that we are speaking about. So 1162, which is where the garage currently sits. Parcel next door, 0, parcel here, 0, for a total of about 5.5 to 6 acres. Is that correct, Bill?
Absolutely, yes.
Perfect. So the floor is yours, gentlemen, to discuss what you were looking to do, and then we can, any questions from there?
Thank you. My name is William Jackson. I'm here with CRL Hayek, LLC, Mr. Rob Hayek, Mr. Harris Hayek. They own property at 1162 Berlin Turnpike. We are interested in exploring options to develop the property. They are open to many options. And my understanding is that if possibly the property could possibly be changed to a zone CCD-1, I think there will be greater options for them to develop the property. And so we are coming here before the commission tonight to seek counsel, if you will, on the most appropriate way to proceed to open up options to develop that parcel of land.
Basically, what type of industry are you targeting?
Yeah. Honestly, I had an idea for I wanted to go gas station there. And small town.
You know, the assistant planner, which is Dylan, relatively new.
So we met with them. And the way we kind of looked at it, it was a little bit complicated the way I wanted to build something there, something big, something feasible. If I have a 5-year, that's my initial plan that I wanted to do. So I guess going towards that was a lot of complication, tanks, stuff, getting some of the more other parcel. I know this parcel has already the license for it, but the way I wanted to do it doesn't fit on that parcel. I don't use all the parcels. But when we met with Chris, I mean, we start talking, we give out ideas, we don't go through that way, you can always, do a change of zoning, clean it up, get it nice and looking nice for maybe investors or other people to come rent. If I'm not able to build something suitable, I can get the houses, I can get somebody and actually get the job there, so.
So what the situation is the gas station itself, which we're gonna call gas station and repair, just for ease of use, is non-conforming existing on that lot. So essentially, if you look at that map I brought up there, so. Oh, this map's gone. Terrific. Essentially on the map, so on the map itself, the only section where it is currently allowed to be in this little 0.3 of an acre section for the gas station, it's a BT2 zone, which is a more limited zone. You're not able to take a non-conforming use and move it into the next property. So essentially what it's saying is you can only do it here, which for, if it's a full-fledged gas station, which was the initial discussion we had, that would not be possible. A couple things which had come to mind. One was the text amendment. If you said a text amendment in the BT2 zone, again, similar to what happened with the self-storage, which is you have a limitation of size and frontage. So maybe it's 2 or 3 lots that could fit. If you look within your packet, yeah, basically, this is like the line here, it's basically like a line, so currently usable up here, so maybe 2.5, 3 acres might be visible to the rear, it's not. So if you look at your packet, what I have done the last couple of years is look at this, and so flip to the actual page, the map with the BT2, one more, if you would, one way back. So this is the other section of the turnpike that BT2 we looked at recently. Big parcel there on the left-hand side, that is where the application actually, he will be in front for self-storage on January 19th. Big piece behind Lombardo next to Safari Hall. So he's coming in already.
How far, I'm not.
Sure, no, other way. Actually, this should be right. Right there. So the upper section where it says BT2, that's the 7 acres where he is planning on putting the self-storage. It looks like it's going to be heard by sheet here on January 19th at that property. So if you look at what's here, there's a handful of other properties of similar size. One across the way is about 3.5, where the Hawthorne is about 5 acres. The Days is about 4.5 acres plus. So if a text amendment was done, this is essentially the extent of the BT2 here and where their property is itself. Now, if you flip back one sheet. So, and I should have done this in color and it did not, but so the area that is surrounding there and kind of highlighted, that is a section that is BT2 at this point. So essentially at the moment, you have a couple properties we're talking about, which says 3 sites, vacant site for development, and then Dunkin' Donuts Plaza, which is there, and the land next to it, which is land trust. So if a text amendment was done, it really, these 3 properties are the only ones that could happen here, potentially 2 down the other end of the turnpike. If, again, let's say that a zone change was made from BT2 to either CCD1 or BT1. If a zone change was made, at least in the BT1, and I have to check the CCD1, a gas station is allowed as a special permit use. So a couple different potential options to look at.
Just one point,
Please.
We don't have to go through the law of the gas station. I don't want to just think about it again.
We're going to agree that that's what you retired.
Yeah, originally, but when we talked, we sat down, I thought it was a little bit more than what it was. I don't understand we plan to sat down. But like I said, when we talked to Bristol afterwards, the zoning change was a better idea for me because in case, not in case, we don't go through that route, I can have more ability to do something that I over there. And I'm looking to do something nice, whether it's me, whether it's the investor I get, depending on what we do. And,
Do you have any idea of what other industries you would target?
at the moment, no, but I was looking what we can do, what I'm allowed to do in that land. The current zoning right now, it's very limited, it's very like, even if you wanna clean it up, put it for rent, it's gonna be very difficult to rent it out. So,
It definitely is. So
Yeah.
just, and the reason it's said, I think, Bill had mentioned CCD one is just north of the turnpike. It is CCD one. So like where Mickey Finn's is, that is CCD one. So essentially, if you're looking at it here, so here's Route 9, CCD one on this side here, which again, I think that's going to be Strikers, that's going to be Mickey Finn's. And then here's the whole section. Their property is here, here, and here. So right in this vicinity. So yes, a CCD one would give quite a few more uses. This, as you guys can tell, has been something I have been thinking about for a while, considering the stuff in front of you. Just gonna pull up here a second if I can find it. There it is. So this is just a quick view here quickly on if you add if it becomes CCD one as compared to BT2, all the ones in yellow here essentially would be allowed, where in the BT2 they are currently not. The green ones you lose, but essentially the yellow ones would be added with the zone change. So dry cleaners, medical, public use, bed and breakfast, printing, civic, social clubs, studios of dance, photography, graphic design, couple as a nursing home, probably not, restaurants, fast food, caterers, and wholesale bakeries. So a CCD one change would definitely be beneficial because it would add quite a few uses that are not within the BT2. The BT2 really is retail, general business, banks, restaurants, stores, health fitness clubs, religious, charitable, and daycare. So not a lot that's there, and a good portion of those are also in the CCD.
How much usable land do these three? What's that?
It's not been exactly surveyed, but I look at the plot map, so this plot right here is sad.
So it's point 3, I think that is.
This is a half acre. So,
Yes, 0.45, you are correct, yep.
so it's yeah, I'd say on the order of 4 acres of land, 4 acres of
Usable land?
yes, outside the wetland line.
How far are we looking at the property being residential behind? What we're looking at here?
Sorry.
Where's the boundary for the residential? Behind. They're gonna be concerned. That is the.
I think what it is I think the wetlands would probably be like here. So really, you're gonna have a break between the wetlands and residential, plus I think you said Bill was almost like a berm. Almost a.
Yeah, it's a 1-to-1 slope, about an 8-foot vertical change in elevation between the usable land, the terrace that is developed along the Berlin Turnpike and the wetlands. It's very stark.
Again, if a zone change is made, and literally you're looking at one, would actually add uses for the Dunkin' Donuts Plaza as well. And then essentially you're looking at a couple sites max that could be developed, these 3, and then if someone wanted to subdivide off the piece that's next to Dunkin', it kind of looks like an L, and that little corner piece there. But I think the corner piece is probably gonna be very limited. It's pretty small. Actually, let me show you the zone line here. That would probably be helpful so you can get an idea. So you can see that it just kind of goes through the properties here. There's Duncan right there. There's Land Trust. This is the piece that is the back of Mr. Powers. And you essentially have the 1, 2, 3 here, and then this piece here. So
Do you have a wetlands map you could overlay?
I don't know how accurate it is, but
Just to see how.
let's see. This thing shows a huge amount of wetlands, which is why I don't necessarily trust the mapping here.
The line shown on this, 17 drawing, it's pretty accurate. It was actually flagged last year, the boundary. And, that line was taken from the, if you, Chris, if you're able to put the topography up, the topography is very, demonstrating. Maybe zoom out just a little bit. Take the arrow up. So you see, see that the curved line. That curved line right there is the extended fill. And that is the wetland boundary, and that is the line that's been represented on this map here.
Yeah, so that's 77, and the residents are 95 to 127 up at the residential. So quite a bit higher.
Thank you, Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, I have some questions. Okay, so down here you would have PS DD2. That's not your intention. You want to go to CCD1. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this should be crossed off, correct?
Yeah, we would ask for that to be taken out, yeah. Okay. I don't think it makes a lot of sense considering it was put in place to match what's across the street.
Well, that's an overlay.
Yeah, it's just an overlay.
Okay. As far as them rezoning just this parcel, that should never happen.
Yeah.
They won't
Yeah,
allow it.
you'd have,
So
you'd have
what
to
you guys want to do is that whole section, you know, where Dunkin' Donuts is and all this property, and then it's not gonna be spot zoning. Okay, then you're taking the block. Here's the highway, here's the other CCD1 zone, you're just transferring here. The rest, this is an unusual area of the turnpike that has that CCD1 zone, because where that zone is basically located is on Farmington Avenue. And you're able to go and develop the parcel much more than a BT1 or a BT2. Okay, so again, you want to go to that whole block. You're talking about the wetlands and so forth. That would have nothing to do with us. I was always under the impression that you had probably around 2.5 acres of developable land. That's not for us to say. Okay, you have it flagged if you want to utilize as much land as you can out of the parcel. But you got to also check if you're going to do a gas station, that CCD1 zone might limit gas stations too. I know it was in the regulations up to a certain point, but then they allowed the gas station to go and do stop and shop. So it might have been changed. Okay, well, that's one thing you want to check into. So you don't wanna cripple yourself to change the zone to this zone to find out. Other than that, why didn't you just consider to go to a BT1, which has all the uses? You should look into the regulations of what is allowed in that BT1 zone. There's very few parcels in the BT2. I always questioned why they created it in the first place. I thought maybe because they were trying to protect the wetlands and not have a gas station. But they turned around and had BT zone, BT2 zones, much farther away from any wetland. So that explanation doesn't work.
Actually, I have the entire thing up here, Ed. I actually did one that has BT2, CCD1, and BT1. So yes, the BT1 definitely has a number of uses here that would be viable options that would have more uses as well. Yep, yeah, so the ones down here, really the ones which would be the. I think it's not really nice. Yeah, all the different automotive oriented as well as the car wash in the BT1. So
Chris, what would we lose from the CCD1 to the BT1?
let's see, public or semi-public uses. Looks like dry cleaners. Yeah, it looks like it's about it. It looks like there are a number of ones here, but I can get this sheet over to you guys.
Are you familiar with BT1 zone? I am not.
BT1 is, if you go back to what we have here, so immediately south of Middletown Road, it becomes, I believe, BT1. Yes. So essentially, the other side of Middletown Road, it is BT1. So that wouldn't be a big stretch to make that BT1 as well. It just really, it's bring the CCD1 down or bring the BT1 up. Is really the only real differences between.
One option or expedient than the other.
It's going to be the same process. Asking for the zone change. I think that, again, I think as Ed said, I think it makes the most sense to look at this entire area and say we'd like to do a zone change for the entirety of it. And we'd like to get rid of the SPD overlay. Because that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense at this point. Again, whether it's the CCD1 or if it's the BT1 is kind of up to you at this point. I think the bigger thing is probably to take a look at the zoning regs for the CCD1 and see what it says about a gasoline station. That way, if that is still something you're thinking about, that may help your decision on whether or not it is. Because it's, and I was just looking them up here, there are gas stations, gasoline filling stations are in the CCD1, but there's specific language that, again, is probably more of an attorney than me at the moment. Because it says about a pre-existing gas station. Is this considered a pre-existing gas station? So again, that's more of a, what do you think makes the most sense for you? I can get that chart to you, which is relatively easy. You can take a look at the different options. They take the last a lot of use, even though it has been 30 years, yes.
If that's what we're trying to see. What do you want to open up all your almost a year ago?
Yeah, the son is the one who's handling it, but yes.
I never.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting for the fact that there are opportunities here. Yeah, I can send that sheet to you. And then I think maybe it makes sense even to think about it a little further. And then if you say, hey, I want to go in this direction, maybe have you guys come back and then we can
It'll wait, give you the most time.
come back and say, we'd like to do this. And probably at that point, it's because again, I don't think we necessarily want to say a blanket. We think we can change it. I think having a better idea where you guys are headed. Better for. Plus, I'd love to have more commission members here as well today.
So we could potentially arrange to come back next month with more defined.
Yeah, I think it's more defined, just look, we want to go forward. We think we should get the changes on those.
Come back with a definite area of the property and a definite direction as far as BT one versus a CCD one and what options that potentially that could consume.
Any other questions? I have. I don't have to use that question. Mr. Jackson, you represent these two gentlemen. What capacity? Is there attorney? Is budget engineer? I'm not sure.
I'm a environmental consultant and I got a town and delineate wetlands and I have worked with Mr. Hague in the past, assisting him on other parcels that he owns. He asked me to assist him with this capacity.
And you two gentlemen, I don't know your names yet. And are you, do you folks own all three parcels currently? Or you're under option to purchase them?
No, I bought it last year.
You bought all three.
Yes.
So you're the.
Here's my own. He lives in Berlin.
Okay.
I'm west.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand. So you
Yeah,
own
it's
three
on-
parcels already, you bought it.
Correct.
Mr. Jackson represents you. Okay. Now I understand. And I didn't get it. Now I
But you know,
get
I
it.
wanna answer the question because Chris was saying, to figure out what I do. Like I said, the gas station is behind me now, I guess, from my initial project. My main thing right now is getting the property to look better and building something there, whether it's me or putting it for lease and have somebody lease it. That was my main one when I first came in. When we met up with the guys, my mind will change. When we see what we get from the places, and I change our ideas.
You're basically from what we see, you're gonna go over and change, but see if you can get the most options. Correct. You're not gonna do it, you do it once, you have to back in.
Correct.
So.
So I have to decide.
We know kind of some ideas of what. This way. Yeah, I'll take a look, I can send the chart to you guys, you can take a look at it. Go from there, then actually probably. What I could do is get the different files and give it to you guys, hard copy, send electronic copies of what you guys kind of plan and have it in front of me. I go from there, so full plan. Have it in your document.
Did you when you study, go in that property?
When with that, it's only now.
Well, just marketing in general, of what would be test zones.
Initially, we're going to see what is going on, what is want. And I looked at, I could do it. More. To fix it up to now. When how quickly that it's going. That's why you're going as a property there. If I don't want to do the work yet until I know I'm gonna get something out of it. I don't want to do the work and I'm trouble with it. Yeah, I want to make sure I can get the full thing and then I'm gonna work on it. Spend some money, get it cleaned up, get it ready. That's nice car.
You just want to get the property ready then.
Correct, well, yeah, because this is gonna be a little, so I was like, you know what, let me just go that way. But you saved me a lot of.
We plan to have you next meeting, get familiarize yourself with the zone and what the uses are in there. We do have an eyesore. When you have an eyesore, the towns loves getting rid of. So have that in favor. All right. graffiti and everything else, that road is basically very.
That's gonna get their numbers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you're heading in the right direction, there's no doubt about it, you know? It's site clean, the food and all.
I did the big, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good. Good. Oh, great. Yeah.
Gas stations.
The guy that always wants to before they, the things are there.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, he has that record song.
You're actually pretty lucky. Not many gas stations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they took the things a long time.
Oh,
They didn't keep on that.
Good, yeah, just see where you're allowed and might be pleased. We want the probability of getting passed. We want to put what's in that area. Right, as soon as you got that highway going through, it's not consistent. No, okay, but they'll take it from.
I just have a question, just in case it gets brought up to, because I do the change, so I don't know exactly what's gonna be these things, so somebody asked, me, even asked, me, what are you gonna put in, I don't, like, I just wanna clean it up, get it ready, get it at least, because I don't know what's gonna, you know, what, I'm gonna get there. It's just gonna be difficult for me to explain what I'm gonna put in. I know when I get it ready. I will, you know, up the eye, if that's what's in it, it's.
You'll have to do that. Some work on that, instead of wetlands, how much useful land you
Yeah,
have.
that's what we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would even have some ideas. It's a hard sell, this guy. It's gonna be real. So, kind of investigate some option. See one was the gas station, just like another thing that could fit in there. So we not have to get any special text. It works better for you to options.
You want to see that in black and white person, but the uses, so you feel comfortable with it. So you know that your plan has the option of developing and using on that site. Give a little more fun. And probably if you're gonna go for that zone change, would probably be a stipulation that you knock down that building.
What's gonna
Well, I know that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Use that as,
As okay, as a plus for me, that's good.
yeah. So come back next month. You'll get educated on what the uses are. You're gonna feel more comfortable. All right, you
So
know,
I'm emailing everything to Bill right now. I'm also gonna send this one to you. It's a filing you can modify depending upon what you want to put here. But essentially, everything I have there is kind of there. So that'll be there. So the that spreadsheet that shows the different zones, shows the area, and then that one there. So that is on the way to you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you so much for your time.
Really, and yeah, I think we can even, and before the next meeting, if the four of us want to stand and chat, or three of us. I think the bigger piece is gonna be, okay, we would like to see these types of, you can't say for certain who it's gonna be, but to be able to say it off the list, look, here's the ones that we think make sense here. I mean, I look at what's down there too. I think there's a huge need for food. And I don't believe that any food has been allowed in Dunkin' Donuts Plaza. It's surprising, he owns Dunkin', the guy that owns the property. If you look at the industrial parks, the fact that we have two huge home healthcare agencies plus Safe Park down there, there really is very little food that you could be going there. And I think if CCD one or the BT one would allow that with the drive-through, which again, considering its location on Turnpike on the drive-through would be a key facet to it. Again, I don't know who that would be, but I know when you look at it, I talked to the folks down in Park Drive. Probably 500 jobs down there, and they really can't do anything. It's either bag it or you go, wow. So here's your guide. It is, that's really, wow, there's really not a lot, and you go the other way, I mean, you have Sensusi, and then you gotta go all the way down into Meredith Robert, his name. I think we can definitely connect again and chat a little further on it. You have the documents and let me know if you need anything, you can do it myself.
We'll be in touch. Thank you so much for your time again.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for the direction. Thank you.
Anything else, from your audience?
That's it for audience.
I know we have a guest, but that's not for audience.
I don't know,
Okay, no
Ms. Susan, would you like to say anything? I don't know if you would like to, or if you just wanted to sit in the background, it's up to you. I'm going to give you an opportunity if you'd like to say anything.
Hey, I have 3 on the agenda, minutes for October's meeting, it's for a package. We've had a chance to review it, and we have, if you're happy, we'll look for a motion to approve minutes for October. Yeah, hold on.
That's fine.
Sure.
Table, it's not a problem. Just to give you an update on a couple things that were mentioned on the agenda. CCARC and the Prince of Peace Church will be heard on January 19th. Colvest project, which is Starbucks taking half of the paint building, will be heard this Thursday evening. The sports complex will be heard on December 1st. Hydroponics will be heard on December 1st. The request of this commission for a public hearing and public discussion was granted by the commission. So on December 1st, they are going to have open for public discussion, debate, etc. So they did not need to, but both the commission and the attorney for those folks had said that. If anybody is interested, the offer is open Saturday to go down and see the property if you'd like. Saturday morning at like 9 o'clock. If that's of interest, please let me know. Need to give them some notice. Again, that would go from location.
Okay, item 4 then, sir.
Item 4. So the first one, compassionate care, we took steps above. Steel Center took steps above. 1162 Berlin Turnpike, we've asked them to come back. 398 Chamberlain Highway, research. 285 Berlin Turnpike. So this is the front building in front of Home Depot. So the building in front here has about 1,700 square feet or so, I think. 1,777 square feet, looking to do food for takeout in the space right here, which would probably, I think, between UFC and the PS. So right in front there, it's currently unoccupied, so this would be new use there.
Is that planned for drive through?
No, drive-through would not, probably not be allowed there just because they're outside.
So that's all allowed.
It's a special permit, but yes, it is allowed and it's looking pretty hard. Take on it. And if you look on the left hand side, there's a letter from the architect that's representing the list. Thank you. Go ahead, like 2 or 3 pages. All right, no, go ahead, one more. No, you don't think so. You don't. All right.
So the use is allowed.
It's,
So there's nothing, gonna go and get, go for it.
Yeah.
And nothing we could,
Yeah, good for a change.
let it go. Nothing we need to do about it, just it's already allowed, let it roll. Okay,
recommendation or whatever, but that's.
it's already allowed.
So they're probably looking for a lot of takeout.
Yes. That's what I had taken.
You can sit in there, eat stuff, you get, and they don't serve.
Well, what's this core area two?
Sure, core area two is the area down by the train station. Core area two is in the center. Second. So core area one is the area where Newport has their development at the moment. And core area two. Junior. So the core area two. Let's see where it's at. So, okay, so this area in here is core area one, which is core area one is right on this side of the road over by where Steel Center is being put up. Core area two would start at the corner piece here where Piedmonte's is and come down to, I believe, right here where Ron's Auto is. So essentially it would just be this side of the street, all the commercial properties. At present, the density is, I think, about 6 units an acre. And we don't necessarily need an answer on this tonight, it's more let you guys know what's happening.
So it's the total redevelopment, right?
We're essentially looking at redevelopment, yes. So, well, not necessarily. If it increases the density, it would also allow Newport to add another building that would be parallel to the train station at Newport Center, which is the old Tyvek building. They would like to do that, to put some units directly along the rail.
So it'd be parallel with the railroad tracks,
Yeah, parallel with the railroad tracks along that side of the lot.
north and south.
Yes.
Is an area and property.
I do not know.
I think at one point there you talked about something that one as well, so it's scratched.
So yeah, so really it's looking to do some additional housing, particularly affordable housing in TOD area by the train station. And we can kind of discuss this again, but essentially the big pieces are basically saying that residential uses can be at street level if the building does not front on a public way or public road, which this would not. Let's see, 7 dwelling units per acre. Minimum, okay. And no drive-through restaurants, because they just would work. So basically,
It's the same zone as across the street.
yeah, same zone as across the street. Across the street is 25 units an acre. This would bump it up to 7 units an acre.
And it's a win-win. Because that building is basically outdated as far as its appearance. The old A&P. Isn't that what we're talking about?
Could be the AP, could be Ron's, could be Piedmont, it could be another building on Newport. So I mean, there's a number of different options.
This was a great improvement.
Who's pushing this? Or who wants this? Who's coming Is it that we're doing this as a town?
Newport is looking to add additional units.
Newport's asking.
Newport's asking, I also believe that you could take the Piedmonte piece, which is 3 parcels on the corner right here. And I think if you increased,
I know, wait a second.
yeah, I know. Horrors.
Right. Okay. No, we're all against it now, forget it.
But I mean, if you look at the 3 pieces here, it's a major corner, and you know, it really is not very.
No, it's not attractive for a main entry into your downtown area.
This really is, it's a pretty easy.
It is. Yeah, it's a P and Z thing. It's more of just to kind of let you know kind of what the plans are. I mean, they would be looking to add probably another. Let's see, probably another 10 to 12 units on the property, which essentially would be. Likely they would do a box. Probably kind of a. Or something like that.
But nothing down here, Chris, in
No,
the back.
it's all, I'm pretty sure it's all wet back there, but I can. Take a look here, but I'm almost guaranteed it's wet back there because that was part of the,
Yeah.
So Chris, as we add all this stuff, including retail, is there gonna be enough parking for them to curb?
Well, that would be the question there. I mean, I thought it was kind of tight. The other thing I'm looking at.
on their property, they have like 100 and some spots.
I mean,
Yeah.
so that would be okay for the hot houses going in there and that other restaurant along with the housing that's also being built.
Yeah, they have plenty. Yeah, you can see it's a pretty big lot.
How about across the street? Like with the hot.
I mean,
houses?
across the street, yeah, I mean, across the street, they're pretty much tapped out with Hop House and then the restaurant. And then the rest would be,
It wouldn't it would be nice if you could take that Matson property, A and B was. Redevelop that into something that's across the street.
well, here's kind of what I thought.
All areas
is
be spruced up.
if you did something like. No. Box.
Actually, Matt's it owns that drive. The firehouse.
Do they own that?
Yeah.
Just gave it right away.
So about 3 acres if you took the whole thing. 3 acres at 7, so you get 21 units and then. It's, and maybe it's something that you don't necessarily say, yes, we think this language makes sense, we'd love to see more development, or even, you know what, look, take out everything right up to the avenue. It's John Rossini.
I think we should think about parking, though, Chris.
Well, I would agree, I mean, and then.
I don't know where, but I think we should really, before we develop it all, think about it. Right now, you go to the brewery, you're basically at parking on the bocce court. You're in the weeds.
Yep.
That's kind of embarrassing as well.
I think we did that parking.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine.
But it's all privately owned.
There's no need for action tonight, you guys can just kind of think about it.
But then, is Newport ready to put this on paper and submit this?
I don't know whether or not how close they are on it, we're meeting in a couple weeks anyway, so
Okay.
if they are.
Yeah, you gotta kind of ask if, what would your plans be for, and what, you know, what particular pieces.
Already, next thing, Airtime Mechanical Services purchased 63 Fuller Way. This is Jeff Leon, moved the company from Southington. It's done a huge investment in the building. We're gonna be doing an open house or a ribbon cutting hopefully relatively soon. About 100+ jobs that came from Southington. He actually, ironically enough, Prince, he actually lives at 9 Steel, one of the apartments, which is kind of cool.
He does?
He does. So just looking to get approval on this for tax abatement, and then we will take it to council.
tell me, I apologize.
Sure.
Where is Fuller Way?
Sure, Fuller Way, so, yeah, sure, so you go down Woodlawn, like you go where Harvey used to be.
Yeah.
Fuller's a word on the right, word
Oh,
on
okay.
the right.
Okay.
So it had the limousine company, which went out of business, which is now the new place. This used to be just like a warehouse for
Okay.
manufacturing building too.
Is it going down the right hand side, going down?
This is on the left hand side, left hand side, first building on the left.
Something that's taken.
Right, I remember them coming, you mentioning it here, so tax abatement, tell us what the abatement is here.
Sure, I mean, it's essentially, he's spending probably close to, what is it, $700,000 to add to the building. Essentially, he took what was a warehouse building, created a really nice office. If you look at it, he's completely redone the outside. It's got a nice thick blue band around it, which is his colors, and it really, the building shines at this point. It's really just going to be a tax abatement and any increase in assessment at this point. It's an existing building, but he put a pretty hefty investment into it.
In what schedule are we talking? about?
Probably would just be a 3-year because
3-year, and what's the percentage?
50, 40, 30.
50, 40, 30, and this is based on what's new, not the
Yes.
old warehouse.
It's based upon the increase in assessments. So if he spends $750,000, we can give him a 3-year tax abatement on the increase in taxes.
Any other questions?
He's actually got 120. The majority of
How many square feet is it?
33,000. He went from 15 to 33. Yeah, he actually, the nice thing too, he can actually, he's got more space for fabrication because he manufactures a lot of the sheet metal that he does, as well as warehouse space for additional product.
It's pretty impressive.
Okay, folks, we're looking for a motion for the tax abatement here, folks.
Well, isn't it premature?
No,
No?
no, he's been approved and he has occupied the building.
Okay, but he hasn't done the improvements. yet.
Yes, he has.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing an open house for employees on Saturday and our ribbon cutting will be probably about December 2nd.
Okay, good. All right, motion to approve the tax abatement of 50, 40, 30 for their tenant plus 63 Fuller Way and the improvements.
Okay, second somewhere, folks?
I'll say.
Motion second, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
Table 500.
Table,
Table December or he gets approved or whatever. So ribbon cuttings, promotions, task forward. We broke ground on the 32,000 square foot. It's called Pro Elite Commercial Truck Service and Sales Center. It's going to be the first one in New England and we're putting it on the property. Excited about it. Podcast of the third came up, which was nice. Pokemoto, which took the old Fresh Monkey space in the front of the plaza, opened up. They're a Hawaiian poke. It's kind of a spam. It's what? Spam. Spam. No, it's well, you probably could get spam, but I think a lot of it is really more vegetarian type stuff, like in a bowl.
Oh, yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, really nice stuff. Not my cup of tea, but yes. Mimo Bistro, 138 Main Street, finally opened up. This is the former Fred's Deli. It is. It's a combination Spanish and Caribbean type flair, but she also has different tastes that she has, and she and her aunt are doing some fun stuff. Yep. Ink Rockets. Ink Center, which is going to be located in one of the retail spaces. They do a lot of embroidery and similar, and he's kind of changing the business model. They do a retail spot where you can go online literally and you can basically design your own shirts. So if you want to do the Bostrom Tree Farm shirts, you can go online, design them and pick them up there.
That's not Brian, is it, that used to have the printing place?
No, it's definitely a different group. They're actually, they've been in town already called Signalware. They were in the back. They're now taking the back and the front. Things center. Babies to Buddies, which is daycare that's gonna be opening up for the YMCA, used to be on Chamberlain Highway. Tomorrow, we are doing an award for Kensington Auto. I don't think I've actually showed you guys one of these, so I will show you what it looks like. If you want to just take a look and pass it. So this is the award we'll be giving Kensington Auto tomorrow. And then we are doing Drain Doctor on the 17th, Mickey Finn's for 75 years on the 21st, Edro on the 28th. We will be giving one to my friend Peter here in December. We also have BNF Machine. We did New Britain Transportation, so we've had a whole bunch of folks, and it's been very well received, which is nice. Many of the companies are ones that we don't really get a chance to connect with on a regular basis. It really says kind of a thank you. The cool thing too is it's Imperial Trophy, which was in New Britain for 55 years. Bought the condo where, again, going back to Brian, where Amity Printing was, they bought the condo there, and so the daughter's running it, and they're now Berlin, Quebec, which is kind of cool. So, yeah. Yeah, and she's been, yeah, it's kind of funny. I put the list together in 2019 and didn't touch it, and then I found it in July, and I went, hey, I think I'd like to do something with this.
Was there a date on there?
Oh, yeah, it just says 2022.
Oh, yeah,
Okay. Yes, so we started this out as Milestone Mondays, and I realized I had more companies than I had Mondays. So now we have Throwback Thursdays.
you get that, little bit of thrill, honors of the company.
It's been a great response. Actually, the coolest response actually was Cutting Edge. I didn't know what to expect because I didn't do a lot with them, but they were absolutely thrilled with the idea of getting awards for 35 years. I've already figured out that we got
I
it.
feel like it's been forgotten about.
Yeah, so we got a handful already for 23, so it's kind of cool, and it just happens to be I've jammed them all within basically 3.5, 4 months.
Great.
So we're probably at 25. We have 25 by the time we're done, which I think is awesome. It's also 3 years of celebrating because again, you guys know we hadn't done one of these since 2019. We met at Show. Marketing, a couple things just to point out. We had some really, really great press. We've got a couple articles in the New England, the Hartford Business Journal. One on Pasco Ford and one on the food waste plant. And then we had a really nice article in the Hartford Current on the It's All in Berlin campaign. So just some stuff to take a look at, and then a nice one on Sam Cater, who interestingly enough used to run the 7-Eleven and now has his own insurance firm down on Mill Street, which is kind of a fun thing. And so it is definitely good stuff. A couple, today was 67 since COVID started, the ribbon cutting and groundbreaking in Mobistro, which is just amazing.
Yes, that's true.
41 of which are women owned and operated, and it's amazing to me. There has been so much positivity on the It's All in Berlin Instagram. There's a lot of going back and forth of people really propping each other up, promoting each other, which, you know, I look at it, it's like the anti-Facebook, because Facebook just gets nasty. Everybody's really great. I think having all these businesses and having them really promoting what's happening, what they're doing has been wonderful. And I'm definitely excited about where the momentum's going. I think it'll continue. I'm really excited about the apartments and what's happening with those. One thing I am doing is more just an FYI for all of you. I am working really hard right now to get a bus stop at the end of the New Park Drive. We currently do not have one. The bus does not go down there, which means every one of those companies in it that's looking to hire cannot get any more employees. But with the bus stop, at least there's an opportunity there. The bus currently stops at Home Depot, and we're working diligently to try to make this happen.
Where does it come from, Chris?
Would come from Home Depot or just go down to New Park Drive. The irony is,
I mean, I didn't know where it originated in Britain. Then
yeah, I think it comes from New Britain, but you can go from Hartford to connect.
Right.
But yeah, no bus goes down there. Interestingly enough, the bus and the driver are both Pete Agostini's. So it's him providing it. The problem is somebody at DOT has to say, hey,
Right.
Pete, you need to do the run. So I'm working right now with CT Rides. They've been great. We created actually an employer survey to fill out how many employees you have now, how many you're going to need 2, 3, 5 years, because they gave us a commuter survey, which was a great concept, except the commuter survey in the entire park full of people who drive their car, you aren't gonna get a big response. So we're trying at this point. The good news is the state has a lot of money coming in for transportation from the feds, and I mean, we're adding a stop. It's not even adding new bus lines.
Great idea.
So this is the bus line that stops at Odd Lot?
There's two different one stops at Ocean State Job Lot, one stops at Home Depot. My thought was the Home Depot stop, because with the 300 apartments, you can live in an apartment, get the bus from Home Depot, and go down to Newmark.
Okay, so they're coming down the south.
Mhm.
South lane, cross over to the car, and then turn around and all.
Yes. And I mean, it's also of interest to Tyler Equipment and Priority Electric. Of course, Tyler's been there for 100 years, and for Priority, which is building. Which is a good thing.
Great size building, but
Actually, it was kind of nice. So last week we did Tyler Equipment for 100 years on Monday, 4th generation. We did Higgins Flooring on Thursday, 70 years, 4th generation. Which is kind of cool to have that. It was going to be that long in Berlin. So that's it for me, gentlemen.
Okay, item 8, commissioner comments from wide open floor.
What's the status of the redevelopment of the locality? And that particular one of
Sure. The public hearing was closed at the last meeting. And the hope would be that they will make a decision Thursday night. I was living in 1676 Berlin Turnpike. He has done a bunch of things to make it fit better. He's increased the setbacks to the residential. He's done a taller fence. He's actually cut down the number of units. He's done a lot of things to modify it. I think the plan makes sense. It's not as dense as before. There's a little more green space, a little more space between. I'm not sure what the commission will do, but he really has stepped up to a large degree with what we had mentioned and some of the neighbors mentioned as recommendations. So I think he's done everything he can at this point to, again, it still needs to make money, but to make it a viable project.
he was at P&T that last meeting, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah,
so he didn't meet with the neighbors?
he has connected with the neighbors and has talked to them. I think some of them are willing to be open, some of them don't seem to be willing to, but again, I don't know. It's a challenge because you're trying to find a mix of multifamily and single family homes in the same area. So it becomes challenging, and yes, I mean, I think we all know, I mean, down that far, it is challenging to get a great commercial use that's gonna go in there. It was on the market for quite a while. And do I think more of this is gonna happen? I don't know. But I think it's been a learning curve for a lot of people. And the fact that the regs are gonna be like that, hopefully tweaked a little bit so that the adjacent residences and others are taken into account.
There were public comments about, did neighbors come out en masse, or did any neighbors come out?
Probably about 5 or 6 neighbors were there at every meeting, or 1 or 2 by Zoom. So they expressed their concerns about the drainage, the distance to their properties, because essentially the way it was written was essentially the footprint that existed before, they could build to that point. He's since backed it off. So I think in one area it's 30 some feet, which again, it's not the 50 feet that you would get in the BT zone, but it's also not 8 or 9 feet. He's done some things on more of like a little dog walking area, some other things on that way to try to make it a little more with amenities. It ended up being, I think some duplexes, I think side-by-side duplexes as compared to just singles, because he dropped the density overall. So instead of having more, some of them duplexes. I mean, I think he's done everything he could to make it work and still be a project that can be a good project that still is bankable.
commission go work on it.
Yeah, I mean, they've asked them to take units away and do this and that, and I just think it's one of these things that there's gotta be a balance. I mean, he's given quite a bit. Where they go from here, I'm not even sure.
Anything else, folks?
The Chamberlain Highway thing is not gonna work. I could see even if they attempted to pass that, you're gonna have a few different people that would come out of the woodwork and file suit. Because we all know that over the years, different people wanted to do retail there and, gift shop and so forth. And the only thing that's really allowed in that residential zone is the garden center.
Well, I went to those planning and zoning meetings years ago, and they were talking about that. When the Ellis is on it, and only because it was tied in with all the farm regulations that they were talking about at the time. And they were making a huge talk about selling ribbon, trinkets and stuff like that out of the gardens, out of that store with the Ellis is up there. Kind of drove them out of business. I don't know how they could possibly allow this to happen.
It really,
It's a tough sell because it's residential, but on the other hand, when you look at it, where it is.
I mean, the nursery's grandfathered in there, I guess. Right, that's the stuff.
Well, they added garden center as an allowed use in their special permit with certain stipulation.
Mm.
And I think part of the whole thing too wasn't, again, exact, but my understanding is it's a court case and literally like the court case also involved what you could and couldn't sell and big rigmarole.
It was a mess.
And I guess the whole thing now was more on who owned what, et cetera, and it's actually literally it's one of the properties up on the wall there for the tax lien sale. Up on the front hallway there. I mean, again, it's on the market officially with an agent, but it's on the tax lien list up there.
Right.
So
oh, it is.
end of the year,
Why, there are a list for tax liens?
there's like 6 or 7 tax liens up there that are gonna go for sale.
Oh, properties?
Yeah, you'll see a common thread. There's a name you'll see a couple different times.
Oh.
I mean, if something was done, I think you could make it happen, but again, is there a willingness to do it, to have a text amendment written so that you have some of the self-storage? This many acres, this much frontage in this zone for this use. But again, do you completely and totally open the can of worms saying, okay, you're gonna put this for-profit business that's not a garden center in an R21?
It has to be so incredibly finite, it has to be just for that.
To some degree, yeah.
And it would work on that property. We all must agree that that would be just fine. But the umbrella covers too much.
Supposedly there's 2 building lots along with that.
Yeah.
I believe there
There
is.
is. They complained about selling stuff out of the building, but it was okay to have the farm equipment, tractors and a mulch.
Yeah.
The place out back.
Yeah, it was okay.
Hell,
Yeah,
in residential, you gotta look at it though. Don't sell anything out of that store. Okay,
Don't forget, that was there before the resident, before,
long before, yeah.
I worked for Alan for years.
Did you?
For Alan, oh yeah.
So it's the same thing with development of the redevelopment of the hotel. A gas station can go there, okay? And as much as you try to screen the lit area of a canopy, it's still gonna go onto the properties over. So, what,
Yeah, no matter what you do in any kind of commercial, you're gonna get some
yeah,
light pollution in the neighborhood.
I'll do a little research, see what I can find on R21s
Yeah.
and that and stuff.
I was kind of surprised that these people bought, that piece, it wasn't, I didn't see it registered or that they bought it a year ago, the old gas station on the pike.
It'd be nice to see that redeveloped. At least you get a start.
Yeah. But he would have to do that market study to see what would actually go.
Yeah, to come in and get a lot, I don't know. You're not gonna win anything over anyway.
Learning a lot as he goes.
Anything else? Carlton's, that whole project that came a few times, those gentlemen.
We were supposed to meet last week. I am waiting to hear back from Mr. Arsowitz with something new.
Okay.
Haven't seen anything yet. Yeah, it is. It's well, they were so, and we heard them numerous times, they were so set up 100 units, 4 stories. I think we were blazingly clear that neither was a go. I would love to see something, because I don't want to sit back down again with the planner and now the assistant planner if nothing has changed. Because it just, that's not gonna apply.
Good. All right. Any other information on some of the templates for the commission?
I need to talk to the HR person tomorrow. Couple interesting things is, as I said, Starbucks is going to be Thursday night. As is. Starbucks wants to put it in half of the old pink building. Yes, CVS. Yeah, there's some things they're gonna do. They're gonna move the entrance further back towards the garage. So they have the queue behind the building for Starbucks and then add some parking as well on that lot because they don't have a lot.
Make half the town happy, because I ever hear, oh, we need Starbucks.
Gee,
They better do good.
Yeah, right.
Oh, gee, they better do good, because all that fits in the moment here, people want, we need Starbucks.
Motion somewhere, folks?
Make a motion to adjourn.
There we go, second somewhere.
I'll second.
Last one. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
Chris.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.
Susan, have a great night.
Everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you too.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
It's here.
I know, rolls around quick.
I know, I actually want to get the count on there.
Yes, November.
It's life.
Lion.
Chris, okay, buddy.